Okay, welcome. We're going to begin, we're going to resume this evening's regular council meeting. Welcome to everyone in the gallery and to those watching at home. Just a reminder that if you are watching, this is broadcast live, but it's also available on our YouTube channel, and it is available on Tellil for the next week or so. I'll begin by acknowledging that we are gathered today in Unama'ki, the land of the fog, a part of Mi'kma'ki, the unceded traditional territory of the Mi'kmaq people since time immemorial. We honor and thank the Mi'kmaq for sharing their land and their home with us. So we'll do O Canada now, so please stand so far as you're able for the singing of O Canada.
Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command.
Car ton bras s'est porté l'épée, il s'est porté la croix. Ton histoire est une épopée des plus brillants exploits.
God keep our land glorious and free. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Okay, I'll ask the CAO to take the roll call of councillors.
Thank you, Madam Chair. District 1, Councillor Sean Sampson.
Present.
Thank you. District 2, Warden Lois Landry.
Present.
Thank you. District 3, Councillor Brian Marchand.
Present.
Thank you. District 4, Councillor Amanda Momberket.
Present.
Thank you. And District 5, Deputy Warden Brent Sampson.
Present.
Thank you. Warden, the roll has been called and all are present.
Great. Thank you. We held an in-camera session earlier this evening, and that in-camera session included an item on personnel and an item on contract negotiations. So I will throw the floor open to motions stemming from in-camera. Councillor Marchand.
Thank you, Warden. I move that we accept, do you want them all together? It's okay. All three of them? Yeah. I move that we accept Robin Cotton for the for a position on the Destination Cape Breton Board as a representative for Richmond. I move that we accept Amanda Sampson on the Recreation Advisory Committee. Sampson McPherson, okay. And I recommend Gail Johnson for the Strait of Kansas Superport Board.
Okay, so we had applications for vacancies on our committees and boards. So Councillor Marchand has made a motion for 3 members, 1 for each of 3 boards. So can I have a seconder?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Deputy Warden Sampson. Is there any discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries, and thank you very much to all of the citizen reps who put their names forward, and we look forward to the great work those folks will do. And so the second item that we was on the in-camera agenda related to contract negotiations. I'll entertain a motion on that matter. Oh, there you go.
Lost my microphone. All right, so thank you, Warden. I will make a motion that Richmond Municipal Council authorize staff to finalize agreements for collection services and post-collection services with circular materials based on the opt-in service model under extended producer responsibility regulations, and further move that the council authorize the Chief Administrative Officer to execute the contracts with circular materials once finalized.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor. Can I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Marchand. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favour signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. So you have an agenda that is in front of you that was circulated last week. Are there any additions to the agenda? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adopt the agenda as circulated. Moved by Councillor Mumbercat. Can I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Sampson. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. So we have several minutes. We were busy in May and June, and so we'll take them one at a time. So the first set of minutes is for a special meeting that was held on May 22nd, 2025. That's on page 5 of the electronic package if you're following along. Can I have and just a reminder as we go through these minutes, you have to have been at the meeting to move the adoption. So can I have anybody interested in making a motion to adopt the minutes of the special meeting held on May 22nd? Moved by Councillor Mumbercat, seconded by Deputy Warden Sampson. Any discussion on those minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Second one is for the regular council meeting that was held on May 27th, 2025. Are there any errors or omissions in those minutes? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adopt. Moved by Councillor Mumbercat. Can I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Sampson. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. There is minutes on pages 17 to 18 in your package for the special meeting held on June 4th. I have a note here from the clerk that reminds us that the minutes need to include the PID number. There was a matter that we discussed and we weren't sure whether or not the PID would be included in the minutes, but we did check on that, and so they are reflected in those minutes.
I guess you check. Would it be PID or the AAN number?
I'm sorry?
The account assessment number? That might actually be more.
One equals the other, so I don't.
Yeah.
That's all they said was bid.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so that is reflected in the minutes, that addition. So can I have sorry? Is it, oh, I'm sorry, they're not, yes, we need it to be. So I'm looking for a motion to make a correction and to correct the minutes to include the PID 45716.
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes with the amendment of adding the PID number that you just said.
Great. Can I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Marchand. Is there any discussion on that matter, on the minutes?
And to be clear, that's 75045.
75045-716. Yep. Okay, so hearing no other discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. On June 9th, we held a special meeting, and so the minutes for that are attached. Looking for either errors or corrections or a motion to adopt. Move the adoption of the minutes, special meeting minutes for June 9th by Councillor Marchand. Can I have a seconder? Seconded by Deputy Warden Sampson. Is there any discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carried. And finally, we had a special meeting on June 16th. The minutes for that are attached, pages 21 to 27 in your electronic package. If there are no corrections to be made, I'll entertain a motion to adopt. Moved by Deputy Warden Sampson. Can I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Sampson. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. We now have a 10-minute question period. We'll take questions from the gallery or by phone. For folks watching at home, residents can call 226-9885. There's a slight delay, so we usually listen for a minute or two. And just a reminder, this question period, there's another one at the end of this evening's meeting. This one is restricted to items of committee reports. Okay, if somebody dials in, we'll abort, but we'll carry on. So item 11 on your agenda is the committee reports. So we have 3 this evening. I'll turn it over to Deputy Warden Brent Sampson for the Committee of the Whole report for June of 2025.
Committee of the Whole report, June 2025. The committee met on June 10th, 2025. The committee discussed the temporary borrowing resolution for the Loch Lomond Volunteer Fire Department. I move that Council accept the recommendation of the Committee of the Whole and enter into a loan agreement with our lending institution in the amount of $73,564 for the purpose of purchasing a 2021 Ford Super Duty F-350 SRW XLT.
I'll second that.
Okay, that resolution is attached in your package. So anybody have any concerns? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries.
The committee discussed the Community Climate Capacity Cohort Grant Application 2025-2026. I move that Council accept the recommendation of the Committee of the Whole and approve that staff apply to the program.
Okay, motion on the floor. Can I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Mumbercat. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carried.
The committee discussed the deferral of grant applications until after budget approval. I move that Council accept the recommendation of the Committee of the Whole and defer the grant applications from the River Bourgeois Mariner Society, Kitchen Rackets Organization, Celtic Colours Workshops, Janvrin's Island Community Centre, Kitchen Rackets Organization Summer Jam Sessions, and the St. Peter's Grand River Loch Lomond Pastoral Charge until after the 2025-2026 budget is approved.
So you have a seconder on that?
I'll second.
Second by Councillor Mumbercat. Right.
Yes.
And so, got it. And so just for folks who may find this a strange motion, since this meeting happened, we have in fact passed the budget and we have in fact acted on these, but we are following the procedures. So hearing no other discussion on that, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carried.
The committee discussed adding the new housing association to the list of nonprofits in the tax exemption bylaw, bylaw 56. I move that Council accept the recommendation of the Committee of the Whole and refer bylaw 56 to staff for investigation into the current status of organizations listed, look at best practices, and potentially some incentives to help with the appeal or review of assessments.
We have a motion on the floor. All those in, or can I have a seconder, please? Councillor, seconded by Councillor Marchand. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carried.
The committee discussed involuntary destruction advocacy. I move that Council accept the recommendation of the Committee of the Whole and send a letter to the Nova Scotia Federation of Municipalities Board, similar to the one previously sent to the province, with the addition of a request that involuntary destruction be considered as an advocacy issue.
We have a motion to, or seconder on that, please?
I'll second.
Seconded by Councillor Marchand. Mumbercat, sorry. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carried.
The committee discussed credit freeze. I move that Council accept the recommendation of the Committee of the Whole and write a letter to the province asking that they seriously consider a credit freeze similar to the model currently in place in Quebec.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Can I have a seconder?
I will definitely second that.
Great. Seconded by Councillor Mumbercat. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries.
The committee discussed the sponsorship request from Amber Madden, sponsorship chair, Harbour Wars. I move that Council accept the recommendation of the Committee of the Whole and receive the request.
Seconded by Councillor Membercat. Any discussion on that? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? That motion carries.
The committee discussed the advocacy for public library funding. I move that council accept the recommendation of the committee of the whole and that the issue of adequate and sustainable funding for public libraries in Nova Scotia be brought forth to the Nova Scotia Federation of Municipalities Board for consideration as an advocacy priority.
Okay, can I have a seconder on that?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Councillor Membercat. Any discussion on that? I will just say I think it's in this package that we've received a letter from a neighboring or another municipality to this very point. So hearing no other discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries.
This concludes the Committee of the Whole report for the month of June 2025, and I move its adoption.
Thank you, Deputy Warden Sampson. There's a motion to adopt the Committee of the Whole report. Can I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Marchand. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carried. Next up is the Bylaw and Policy Committee report for June of 2025. I'll again turn it over to Deputy Warden Sampson.
The committee met on June 10th, 2025. The committee discussed the capital improvement and development policy. I move that council accept the recommendation of the Bylaw Policy Committee and proceed with the amendments to the capital improvement and development policy as presented with the changes as discussed. We have a motion on the floor. We have a seconder.
I'll second.
Seconded by Councillor Membercat. Do we have any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries.
The committee discussed the guidelines for the designation and use of off-leash dog areas policy. I move that council accept the recommendation of the Bylaw Policy Committee and proceed with the adoption of the guidelines for the designation and use of off-leash dog areas policy as presented with the changes as discussed, contingent on the outcome of the review by the solicitor.
Well, I'll second it.
Yes, so we have a motion and a seconder. And so discussion on that topic is that we have since heard from the solicitor, who has some good advice for us, which we'll be talking about a little bit more later on in another, under second reading of bylaw. So to this motion, however, we have a motion and a seconder. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries.
This concludes the monthly report of the Bylaw Policy Committee for the month of June 2025, and I move its adoption.
Thank you, Deputy Warden. There's a motion to adopt the Bylaw and Policy Committee report. Can I have a seconder?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Councillor Membercat. Any discussion on this committee report? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. So next up is the Planning Advisory Heritage Committee report for June of 2025. Keeping our Deputy Warden busy, he chairs this committee, so I will turn it over to him.
Planning Advisory Heritage Committee report, June 2025. The committee met on June 3rd, 2025. The committee discussed the review of zoning across the county relative to the CMHC catalog. I move that council accept the recommendation of the Planning Advisory Heritage Committee and direct staff to review the CMHC Housing Design Catalog or similar catalogs as they present themselves to determine any barriers our current land use bylaws present to residents or developers who may want to build these homes.
Motion on the floor. We have a seconder. Seconded by Councillor Marchand. Are there any discussion on the matter? Just an update to council that the CBRM released a similar catalog of units, and we sent that off to EDPC under the direction here which says or similar catalog, so that one will be reviewed as well. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries.
The committee discussed follow-up to initial meetings with developers. I move that council accept the recommendation of the Planning Advisory Heritage Committee and continue conversations with housing and property developers and invite them to a forum to discuss barriers and solutions to housing and property development across the spectrum.
Okay, second, so we have a motion on the floor, seconded by Councillor Marchand. Any other discussion on that matter? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carried.
The committee discussed the review of permitting practices for standalone buildings, garage, utility shed. I move that council accept the recommendation of the Planning Advisory Heritage Committee and direct staff to scan all the areas in Richmond County that don't permit standalone buildings, garage, utility shed, and report back to the committee.
Okay, we have a motion, Deputy Warden Sampson, seconded by Councillor Membercat. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries.
The committee discussed the amendments to the Nova Scotia Building Code regulations. I move that council accept the recommendation of the Planning Advisory Heritage Committee and ask EDPC to share their written comments regarding the new building code regulations to the Planning Advisory Heritage Committee, if any.
Floor, can I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Sampson. Any discussion on that matter? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carried.
This concludes the monthly report of the Planning Advisory Heritage Committee for the month of June 2025, and I move its adoption.
Thank you. There's a motion to adopt the Planning Advisory Heritage Committee report. Can I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Marchand. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carried. Item 12 on your agenda is related to the capital improvement and development policy. And for those who are following at home, you can find that policy and suggested amendments from pages 35 to 55 in your package. So I am looking for a motion that council adopt the amended capital improvement and development policy as presented. Moved by Councillor Membercat. Can I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Sampson. Any discussion on that? Just to make folks aware, with minor changes really, but really around timelines, so that where we entertained applications once a year, we allow ourselves, we allow developers to apply at any time, and we have sort of a rolling vetting process. And that is to make ourselves more nimble so that should funding from the province or the federal government become available, we would be able to respond in a more timely way. So hearing no other discussion on that, all those in favor of the motion on the table signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Moving on now to some second reading of some changes to bylaws. So pages 56 to 60 in the package that folks are welcome to follow along include 3 proposed amendments to municipal planning strategy or land use bylaws. So there are 3 matters that need to be changed under the heading of proposed amendments addressing the maximum setbacks for commercial wind turbines in response to new provincial setback requirements. So just for a little bit of background information, Richmond County had setbacks in our municipal planning strategy and in land use bylaws around the distance from where turbines can be located. Province has asked for some consistency in that. We were very close to the provincial ask, so we just made some minor changes. So regarding on page 58 of your package, you will see the bylaw to amend the municipal. So I'm looking for a motion that council approve second reading approval for the proposed amendments to policy 5-52 of the Municipality of the County Richmond Municipal Planning Strategy as presented.
I'll make that motion.
Moved by Councillor Membercat. Can I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Sampson. So that particular bit of information is on page 58. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Next motion I'm looking for, and this is related to the information on page 59. I'm looking for a motion that council approve second reading approval for the proposed amendments to section 6 6:35.9A and 6:35.9B of the Municipality of the County of Richmond Land Use Bylaw as presented. Moved by Councillor Marchand. Can I have a seconder?
I'll second.
Seconded by Councillor Mumbercat. Any discussion on that? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. And finally, we are looking for a motion the council approve. So you'll see this information on page 60 of your package. The council approves second reading approval for the proposed amendments to Part 9 and Part 15 of the West Richmond Planning Area Land Use Bylaw as presented. I have a motion to that effect. Moved by Councillor Mumbercat, seconded by Councillor Sampson. Is there any discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. 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 Those opposed? Motion carries. So the next bylaws that we are looking at for folks who like to follow along, if you are on page 61 of our package, page 61 to 63 deals with accessory dwellings. So just a little bit of background there. If you are interested in putting an accessory dwelling in Richmond County, you are welcome to do so, but there was a section of our land use bylaws on Isle Madame that would not allow an accessory dwelling in certain instances if your land was not subdividable. So this changes that and opens up all parts of Richmond County. So in order to do that, I'm looking for a motion that council approves second reading approval for the proposed amendments to the municipal planning strategy for the Isle Madame plan area, Chapter 3, subsection 3A, and policy G 3.1A as presented. Moved by Councillor Marchand. Can I have a seconder? Yes, that is from the municipal planning strategy. Yep. Can I have a seconder?
I'll second.
Seconded by Councillor Mumbercat. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? And the next part of that is that looking for a motion the council approve second reading approval for the proposed amendment to the land use bylaw for the Isle Madame plan area, section 33, as presented, and that's on page 63. Moved by Councillor Marchand. Can I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Sampson. Any discussion on that? Great. Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. And our last bylaw changes we're looking to relates to dog control. So this one is quite lengthy. It starts on page 64 and goes to page 80. And this will change fairly significantly the way we deal with dogs in Richmond County. So there was quite a bit of discussion on this matter for months and months. Bylaw and Policy Committee, public hearing earlier this evening. And so I do want to be super clear about change that we're making that we're proposing based on legal opinion. So if you are online and you're following along from page 64 to 80, there is reference just in the definitions really about, what are they called? Right, off-leash parks. And off-leash parks do not exist in Richmond County on municipal land. They do in HRM or CBRM, but our lawyer says that best for us not to put in a bylaw what other people might do on their own property. So to align ourselves better with that, I'm looking for a motion that council approves second reading approval of the dog control bylaw number 70 with the exclusion of section 2.16 and the last sentence, so that's the exclusion of the last sentence in section 2.19, as discussed in the public hearing, with renumbering occurring that results from that. Yeah.
So sorry, could you just repeat that section again?
Sure, it's with the exclusion of, so I'm looking for a motion that council approve second reading approval for the dog control bylaw number 70, with the exclusion of section 2.16, which is the definition of an off-leash park, and the last sentence in 2.19. And that we discussed in public hearing, and that renumbering occurs as needed. So if you take out 216. Councillor Marshall?
So the last sentence starts with the notwithstanding.
The last sentence of section 219, which is on, in your package, it's on page 67,
Notwithstanding.
page 4 of it, and it is the notwithstanding this definition, dogs participating in the designated
Okay, I'll move that.
So, moved by Councillor Marchand, can I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Lumbercat. So any discussion on that?
So, could,
Sorry.
thank you, Warden, sorry. So just want to reassure the public that Richmond County is not saying no to off-leash dog parks in this change. I think, I've certainly heard from residents that they're interested in this. This is just, we're changing this because legally, we should probably put this in land use bylaw type of thing so that all residents and potential community groups understand how to go about this as opposed to trying to dictate, like you said, what people would be doing on their own property. So it's not a lack of interest in developing off-leash dog areas, but it's just how we do it needs to change.
Yes, thank you for that. And just to add to that, EDPC representative was here, the director was here at our meeting, our public hearing earlier about the turbines and the accessory dwellings, but we did speak to him about exploring how that might fit in land use bylaws. So the motion on the floor is to approve second reading of the dog control bylaw with those two amendments. No.
Okay. It came to this meeting with the amendments.
My motion was the amendment that I thought
We didn't have a motion to amend yet.
No, it was it's a, yeah.
Okay, well, my motion was mainly just for the amendment. So we'll be supporting the main.
Okay, I wondered about that. Okay. So, okay, so, okay. So the
I was just-
motion that I read out was that council approved the second reading with the exclusions
Coming from the public hearing.
coming from the public hearing.
Okay,
Should be section 2.6.
So,
and the motion that I am making is to amend
Okay.
this with the removal of 2.16 and 2.19, beginning at notwithstanding. That was the motion that I believe
That's
Councillor Mumbercat, yes, that's what I meant.
Okay.
okay.
I can add a few more things to remove, but,
No. So happy to revise it and do it in two sections.
Okay.
Okay.
So Councillor Marchand is making an amendment.
Moving.
The amendment. Councillor
Yes.
Lumbercat, is that satisfactory to you to be
that's fine.
part of, to second that?
yes,
Okay, so we're gonna vote on the amendment,
yes,
which is to remove those two sections and renumber.
correct.
So all those in favor of that amendment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That motion carries. So now, then, I am looking for a motion to approve the second reading for the dog control bylaw, number 70, with the approved amendments, which are the exclusion of section 2.16 and the last sentence in 2.19, as discussed in the public hearing, with renumbering.
I will make that motion.
That motion is being made by Councillor, Mumbercat. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Deputy Warden Sampson. So now we are going to vote on the approval of the second reading as such. Is there any debate on that motion? Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of the second reading approval, with the exceptions as amended, signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Nay. And we'll record that.
Yep.
Okay. Moving on to new business. We have 3 Tier 1 Community Grant Fund applications. So the first is for the Lapicas Community Cultural Center. For folks who are following along, that information is on page 80 to 84. So they are looking for, their request is for $1,000 for 6 sessions regarding use steps to improve mental and physical health. So I will, happy to entertain a motion, and I would be happy if that motion included $200 from the District 2 funds. District 2. So I will throw that out to whomever. Councillor Sampson?
Yeah, so thank you for your donation.
From District 2?
From District 2, yes, exactly. I'm listening, don't worry, in case you say District 1 again. But, yeah, so, no, I appreciate that. So 200 from District 2, and I will go 300 from District 1, and hoping to go 500 from the regional fund.
So we have a motion on the floor to that effect. Do we have a seconder?
I'll second it for discussion.
Great, okay. So we have a motion for $1,000 to fund this, 200 from District 2, 300 from District 1, 500 from the regional fund for discussion. So I'll open it up. Go ahead.
Thanks, Warden. Sounds like a great project. The full amount of the project, and they did provide a little budget, was $1,000. So we would be funding it at $1,000. We would be funding it 100%. And I know that typically hasn't been our practice. So I'm wondering if we could maybe, you know, and I know we spent a large volume of funds the first night. I'm wondering if we could say like $250 from the regional instead of $500. Just to demonstrate that the organization is supplying some of the funds. So I would make a motion to amend the motion to be 200 from District 2, 300 from District 1, and 250 from regional, for a total of $750.
Okay, so that's the amendment on the dollar amounts. Do we have a seconder on the amendment?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Deputy Warden Sampson. We're going to vote on the amendment, which is to change the amount that the regional fund would contribute. So all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? That motion carries. And so now the vote is if we are open to funding this to the tune of $750, 250 from the regional fund, 300 from District 1, and 200 from District 2. All those in any other discussion on that?
I just want to make one comment. There's a charge for facilitator in that of 600. I know we had removed some amounts in the Canada Day funds because of people getting paid for that, for the labor. So not that I'm opposed to it, not voting against this. I noticed that was in there for a facilitator under these grant programs.
Yes, and for me, the reality of our Canada Day is that the requests came to more than the budgeted amount. So we were at 15,600 and change. So in order to figure out what's the best way to get us down to 15, that was sort of the decision that was made, as opposed to we are hard and fast against that. So that was how my vote was cast on that matter. So there's a motion on the floor for $750 to the tune of, as we described. Any other discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Okay, that motion carries. Next one is for the Framboise Community Centre, Tier 1 Community Grant Fund. And so if you're following along, that's on page 85 of your package. And so this one is for their annual 10-year Framboise reunion. Annual 10-year.
Annual 10-year threw me off as well.
Maybe we'll ask Councillor Deputy Warden to fill that in, but it's to assist with the cost of food for a breakfast and supper. And we know that we know that Deputy Warden's got lots of money left because he's the only one who didn't spend last time. Just pointing that out.
I do, and yeah, I do. However, I'd like to make a motion, just because there wasn't any requests from District 5 at all, to do 500 from the regional and 500 from the district funds, if that's agreeable to anybody.
So we have a motion on the floor for 500 from the district funds, 500 from the regional funds. Do we have any other discussion on that? Sure, go ahead.
And so just, like, I do want to just mention for folks watching at home how, you know, we didn't fund the 1,000 on the last one, but there was a budget provided on the last one. This one, there is no budget, but we're talking about food and that type of thing, which I'm quite sure is going to get them past the 1,000. So I would feel pretty confident that the $1,000 on this one is not going to be 100% of the whole project. They're obviously going to be putting a lot more into this. So, so that's all I want to say. So I'll be supporting it.
Great, thank you for that. So any other discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Next, and the last item under new business is the Arishat Community Development Association. You'll find information about that starting on page 92 of your package. And that is this is for the request for to cover any expenses that we cannot cover with donations, that would go toward barbecue, et cetera, for a, what are they calling it? The grand opening, yeah. So, again, I would entertain a motion for movement on this front. I would certainly be happy to have that motion include $500 from District 2 funds. Somebody wants to.
The warden's putting pressure on me tonight, eh? So I'm willing to match that, warden. So 500 from District 2 and 500 from District 1. Fund $1,000.
I'll second that.
You better. Yeah. It is a pretty sizable project and really nice for this side of the island. So, any discussion on that? Better not be. Any discussion on that since we're paying?
Yeah, I just want to say they're just looking for the difference of what donations don't pay. So you're giving them the 1,000 anyway.
Is it up to?
It says up to 1,000 and they have to provide receipts.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Okay. So we have motion and a seconder, did I? Yes. Do you have anything you want to add?
Yeah, I was going to say, just for reference, Councillor Marshall, we had done one, I remember before, where depending on the funding they got, I think it was a community pasture thing, we had said we'll contribute up to this amount, but it was all based on a percentage of the funding they got from the province, up to a maximum. So really, we didn't know until the province came back, you know, what it would turn out to be. So I would guess it'd be similar in this case. It would be up to the 1,000.
And I would say, Councillor, that if for some reason it was 800, we would just, since we're splitting the difference, we would split the difference eventually in how we pay them.
Although you mentioned 500 first, so maybe it's
Let's try. Okay, any other discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. So moving on to correspondence, we have two that require action on our part. I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry, no, everybody else.
Yeah, right, it's a different one, yeah. So item 15, action required. So on page 102 of your package, there is a letter from Celtic Colours Board Chair, Bob McCackern. And so that is a letter of request.
We did
Yeah, we did.
2,500.
Yeah.
Okay, so so there is a letter requesting support. This letter arrived June 12th, but we passed our budget a few days after that. And so in that budget, we approved $2,500 for Celtic Colours. So don't know if council has any other items they want to motion on, make movement on here. I think we've...
I just have one question.
Go ahead.
So having passed that as kind of a strategic investment rate at budget time, when do they get notified? Will they be notified right away? Yeah, okay, okay, great. Yep, no, I think
things that got
that will satisfy kind of the action required on this then, I think,
So
yeah.
I think there's no action required on our part since the budget documents will.
Just a motion to receive will be fine, because the action's already done.
Great, so I would entertain a motion to receive this letter.
So moved.
Moved by Councillor Membercat. Can I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Sampson. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carried. The next one is pages 103 to 105, so the next page. This one is related to a sponsorship request from the Acadian Festival. So there's a letter there that explains, and it includes an invitation to participate in the Grand Parade on the 10th of August. And there are levels of sponsorship provided. So I'll throw this in. Just a reminder that at our last meeting, the minutes would show that we made a donation to the festival. Separate from this sponsorship. Go ahead, Councillor.
So again, I know we've talked about this kind of off and on. I do feel like we need some better parameters for staff around sponsorship. I think during our budget deliberations, we talked about a line item in the budget that was advertising and promotions, and we were specifically renaming it that to accommodate this type of thing. So I'm not really sure why this would even land at our table. If it's a staff-related budget item that we've already approved, but is it that the amount would be higher?
I would like direction on what level you'd like to go in.
Okay.
Yeah, because there's a range from 250 to 1,000 here, and that is a finite budget item. So how much are you looking to put into this project?
And we've already invested. Yeah, 1,000. We've already invested the $1,000. Okay.
So.
How much money is in that budget item? Do you remember?
7,500 is in the sponsorship one.
Through
And
DCD?
then I have the other advertising marketing one that is for administration and stuff we do with the media as well. But the specific sponsorship one is 7,500.
But that's through DCB, right?
No. This is our sponsorship.
It's our own.
DCB was a $7,250 to open up $26,000 in marketing and that in our area.
Festivals and events.
For festivals and
Yeah, it
events.
doesn't come to us. It goes
Yeah, that's right.
So we have 72?
7,500.
7,500. And so the matter here is that we have a budget line which speaks to that, but we haven't given specific parameters to staff around what level of sponsorship they would decide on our behalf. So Councillor Deputy Warden, do you have?
Slow, turning to red. Yeah, I have some concern based on we already sponsored them in a grant form to the tune of $1,000 for the same, the same weekend, basically. I know it's a separate ask, but it's more or less from the same event.
You had something else?
Nope, I'm good.
Yeah, and I thought that in our grant policy, we were asking organizations to advertise for us, to note that we've given them money. So this sponsorship would be some advertising for us as well, but that's in our grant policy, I thought.
Go ahead, Councillor Sampson. Sorry, I think I cut you off.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, to Councillor Marchand's point, there is always a pamphlet that goes out when it comes to the Acadian Festival, and the advertising is there in that pamphlet. So, yeah, for sure, our municipality will be acknowledged, and that would be advertised for sure, right? So, for me, yeah, I'm looking at these levels of sponsorship, and I know there's a separate ask there, but I mean, we're talking about the Acadian Festival here in Peterborough, and it's a big part of the French Acadian culture and heritage here on Almadam, right? So I'm not seeing too much of an appetite here to go with the 1,000 because there was already an ask, but I would like to see at least the Blue Star level of $500 for sure. That's where I would direct staff to go if you guys are in favor of that. Thank you.
Would you like to make the motion?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to at least provide the level Blue Star of $500 sponsorship, please. Thank you.
So, so we have a motion on the floor to, out of the $7,500 sponsorship budget, and to Councillor Mumbercat's point, we don't have parameters that say you can't apply for both. So perhaps we can look for a seconder and then have some additional discussion if we want. So is there somebody who would be prepared to second for the? Okay, so moved by Councillor Sampson, seconded by Councillor Marchand, that we provide level Blue Star $500 support sponsorship through the sponsorship budget. Any other discussion? Is your
My light's
It
been on
won't go
since I
off,
spoke
okay.
before, yeah. But, yeah, and I like it. I don't know if anyone wanted to go into their district funds because I never stand in the way of that. I just think this gets a little dicey where we got almost the same ask
Yeah,
a
I
couple
don't-
of weeks ago. I know it was slightly different, but it was for
Yeah.
the same event, so.
Right, and I think that we don't have the option to go into district funds here. This would be coming out of a separate budget line that we don't have by district. Okay, so we have a motion on the floor for $500 level Blue Star sponsorship support for the Acadian Festival. Any other discussion? Go ahead.
Thank you, Warden. So, yeah, I definitely share the Deputy Warden's concerns with that, and that, you know, we need to maybe do some policy development around that. So if I could, I'd like to make a motion after this motion.
Yes.
But I just want to note that if we get 15 of these, that eats of $500, that eats up our $7,500.
There's some big asks that come already out of this one, right, that we discussed at budget time, like for conferences.
Right. I kind of wish we had a bit of a recommendation on this one, I guess, like, or an analysis of what we could do, because I would really like to support the motion. It's a huge festival. I'm super ashamed to say I have not attended, so I'm going to fix that this year. Unless it's a sunny day and I'm in a boat. I really want to find a way to support this, but. Okay, I'm waiting for the invite. So I really do want to like find a way to support that. But a couple questions I would have maybe to bounce back would be, number one is, will the grant that we sent, and you might know the answer to this, will the grant that we approved qualify us for that Gold Star level sponsorship already? So 500 would be, because it's 1,000 or more, right? So are they treating that differently, or are they treating it the same? I'd like to understand that, where it gets us because I do think it's appropriate for Richmond County to be featured as a supporter of this festival. It's a huge deal, right? So that's my first question, and then my second question would be a little bit around, like, just some information from staff on what do you expect coming up?
Coming out of that spot.
I know it's like asking you to have a crystal ball, but I do know that there's some things you are aware of, so what can we reasonably do? So,
Well, similarly, it was a couple of years ago, we had a conference that came up, the two-eyed scene.
Right.
That was $5,000
Right.
or $10,000 that we kicked over to the strategic priorities. and
Exactly.
That's where that came out of, because there was just no way to know that was coming at us.
Yeah.
But yeah, we can plot out which ones are coming, the ones we're aware of.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the 7,500 came from in the first place. It was to cover the ones we knew of and gave us about a $2,500 buffer.
Right. So Councillor Sampson, I'm wondering if we could consider an amendment to your motion, because your motion was to do the $500 level. But could we say contingent upon staff's analysis of, I don't know what I'm asking for the amendment to be frank, but like, I don't want to overcomplicate it, but I do want to have an assessment, but I don't want to say no to it tonight and then can't come back. Do you see what I mean?
Okay. There's enough for this one.
Yeah, so looking at this Blue Star breakdown of $500 to answer your question, there is some kind of 24-inch by 36-inch banner in
Yes, there's also.
Talk of the pamphlet. So, yeah, so I'm sure that, yeah, there'll be some advertising in there.
Same band.
Here's what I was thinking is maybe, I don't know, I guess this is an easy way to throw the responsibility on staff, but maybe staff could reach out to find out if, maybe through this other 1,000 we've already sent them, we are basically sponsoring them and that would be recognized. And if not, then, you've been given enough direction tonight to make a decision based on that, if there's no recognition from that first ask. Because,
Oh, yeah.
you know what I mean? Because that may have been just for a specific event during the festival, I think, but.
Oh, sorry.
Considering it's a sizable donation, that might almost be an automatic that, oh no, they go in the booklet as well and so on, because they've supported this.
It's a really bourgeois mariners.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to be clear, when we gave them $1,000 last week, that was for children's parade, barbecue, and outdoor activities. So we were helping to support those things to happen. This is separate. This is about sponsorship, which allows them to fund the greater sort of overall festival. So there are two separate pots of money, and they have applied to both, and we don't have any rules that say they can't.
Right, exactly.
So I am very comfortable, given that this is a cornerstone of the tourism market on Almadam in Richmond County, recognizing that although for the $1,000 at the children's parade, barbecue, and outdoor activities, happy to have our banner behind there, or for them to say thank you to Richmond County in the program for helping to sponsor these events. This sponsorship would include something else, which is the list of sponsors that you get. Councillor Sampson.
Yeah, can we look to see if it was actually the Acadian Festival? It is the Acadian Festival here, correct? But can we look to see if it was?
It was the Society of la Société de Festival Acadien Petit de Gras.
So that's for community breakfast and all that stuff. So is these two different groups?
No, it's the same.
No, the earlier grant we had was different.
That was earlier tonight. This was
14A.
last week.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, Warden, at the end of the day, I am prepared to support it. Like, this is a big deal, this festival.
Sure.
I'm prepared to support it, but I would like staff to maybe follow up with some questions with the group to find out, will it mean that we're being recognized at the 1,500 level or just a 500 level?
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
Well, yeah. Look.
Looking at this level Gold Star and the level Blue Star, there's a couple of more additions, but not that many. But I'm sure that there is going to be recognition there, right? So.
And we need to keep in mind that it is the 24th of June, and these would go to the publisher
yes.
probably in the middle of July. So there isn't time for turnaround and come back to council, for sure. So happy to sort of stipulate through the motion or not that, staff do their best to get us as much as we can get for the sponsorship money, whatever we should decide on that matter, and the $1,000 we already committed through the grant fund. But it certainly informs, to your point about making another motion immediately after this, certainly informs the need to provide some direction to staff around sponsorship. Okay. So there's a motion on the floor which is to provide $500 through the sponsorship fund to get us to the blue level. I'm hearing that doesn't need to be it can be if you want. Oh, did you make an amendment? No.
No, I'm not making a formal amendment, but like the motion was, I think, to support at $500 to the blue level, but can we just have the understanding?
Right.
We don't need to make an amendment to the motion. I don't think.
Get
It's
us
just
the best deal.
get us the best deal you can get, and good luck to the organizers. So.
Yeah, and Councillor Sampson, it may be worth kind of somehow, if we can drop it in conversation, that the sponsorship policy may be in place next year before this comes around again, so that there could be a totally different answer next year. Okay, so there is a motion on the floor. Do we have any amendments anybody wants to make? Are we happy with that one, or any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion on the floor, which is to take $500 from the sponsorship fund for this organization, signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Great. So the next series of, so 15B, on page 106 to 109, letter from Colton LeBlanc, Minister of Growth and Development, regarding joint management of heavy water, Point Tupper Heavy Industrial Park and inclusion in Atlantic Port Assessment. So we have a meeting tomorrow with Invest Nova Scotia folks and deputy in the department. So I believe the port assessment opportunities have sailed, but good to have those conversations starting. There is a letter of support to the Dalhousie University Transformation 2026 application. I emailed you folks about the fact that this had to go out before tonight's meeting, so that one already went. Email from the regional program manager for the Canadian Association of Physicians for the Environment regarding uranium exploration. That's on pages 111 to 124. Just a one-pager on page 125 that gives the cover of the Richmond Reflections. So the summer programming registration for that opens up on June 27th, 2025. Letter from Eleanor Ralston from East Hants regarding library funding, which we spoke to earlier. Council has adopted a motion that we write a similar letter. There is the press release for the 2025-2026 budget, with no increases to tax rates and continued investment in community well-being. There is an email from Danny Coffey, Director of Policy and Government Relations from NSFM regarding concerns for the Canadian Mortgage and Housing Corporation. So good on NSFM for working with our federal counterparts, the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, to advocate for that. And at that request, I sent a letter to any developers that we had saying that if they had anything to offer, Danny Coffey at NSFM, that they could reach out directly. Any questions on any of those correspondence? Okay, so we'll move on then. If you're following along at home, we are looking at a unfinished business. So this is related to I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry, right, yes. So this one, unfinished business, the first matter is Nova Scotia's Public Authority's Reciprocal Plan Agreement regarding the defined benefit plans. So there is an information in your email, in your package on page 134. So this came before us, I forget when, but we did send this back to staff to outline any potential risks for council. So the information is in that memo, and if you have any, would you like to speak to that? Go ahead.
If I may, Madam Warden, very, very simply, it comes down to portability between their group and our group. They still say defined benefit plan because within their organization, they still have defined benefits, but in ours, our organization or the pension group we belong to still has defined benefit plans as well, but we're not part of it. So we're in defined contributions. So mainly what this came down to is just if somebody of that organization leaves and starts to work at Richmond County, they can port their pension and stuff over without huge administrative fees, and vice versa. If anybody from Richmond County ends up working with this group, then our pension stuff can port over to them very easily. And it's just so you're reducing fees and making it easier for people to go from one working group into another working group. So there is no risk.
So I hope that provides the clarification that we were looking for when this last came on our agenda. So open to motions or thoughts, concerns. Are we looking for a motion?
Sure, just to go back, the council has no concerns with this would be fine. In full transparency, they needed an answer earlier in June for this one. And I'm not sure if the members of our group pension have already told them that, you know, the majority of people have said this is fine, so they went ahead and did it. I'm not sure if that's the case or not. But it'd be nice to just have us on record closing the loop on it. So if we,
A motion to receive it then, because there's no action for us to take this.
we'd still send a letter whether they've already voted on it or not. I would still appreciate a letter.
Yeah,
Yep,
Yeah.
that you're fine with it.
okay. Thank you, Troy and Warden. So this definitely answers the concerns that I had kind of raised, so I'll make a motion to authorize sending a letter back to NSECSB, lots of letters there, just, I guess, approving to move forward. Yeah, okay.
Can I have a seconder? Seconded by Deputy Warden. Any other discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carried. Next matter is so 16B, the Riverdale Community Services Society. Just getting my phone here to get the information. So at our meeting that was held last week, where we did our best to get through all the grants, there were some questions that we had about the Tier 2 community grant request that came from the Riverdale Community Services Society. And so we tasked Councillor Marchand with going to get some information. He did, and there is no change to most of what you see in your package, which starts on page 136. So their financial statements and all of that is still the same. They have made a change, having shopped around a little bit. So the total that they're requesting now is $4,671.72, and that comes from 2 items, each of which is a little cheaper than the last time they submitted. So instead of $6,400 and change, they are now looking at a lawnmower that would cost $4,102.86. And instead of a bush and trimmer at $752, they've found a whippersnipper that will suffice at $568. So the rest of the information in the package is the same, but their ask totals $4,671.72, and that is the total capital cost. So that's their request. So I'll throw it out to Councillor Marchand, since you would have had some conversations here.
Thank you, Warden. Yeah, I spoke with Danielle, and I'm prepared to make a motion that we take $1,400 out of the general fund and $1,000 out of the District 3 funds to support this at roughly just a little over 50%.
Okay. So the motion on the floor from the District 3 councillor is to take $1,000 from District 3, $1,400 from the regional funds. Have a seconder on that, even if it's for discussion. I'll second it. Seconded by Councillor Lumbercat. Any discussion on that? Okay. Okay. Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Nay. Nay. Okay, great. So, yes. Oh, please. We forgot that, didn't we?
Almost forgot. I got distracted. I tried to get to Riverdale early so I could get to the motion, and I missed it. But I would like to make a motion at this point, given our grant discussions this evening, to refer the sponsorship matter or procedure back to staff, back to staff for review, and then further on to bylaw and policy for discussion. Because I think it would be good to have some staff information come to bylaw and policy, so that we have something to discuss. So
we have a motion for to direct staff to bring some information about a potential sponsorship policy to the bylaw and policy committee. Do you have a seconder? Yes. So seconded by Councillor Sampson. Sorry, beat you to it. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. 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 Those opposed? Motion carries. So review of action items is item number 17. That starts on page 151 and goes on and on and on. Is there anything anybody needs to raise on those matters? We're plugging along nicely on those. There are no items to be added to that were added to the agenda, so we'll take a moment and open it up to question period. So it's a 10-minute question period now from the gallery or by phone. Again, the number is 226-9885. And this one is restricted to items on the agenda that follow committee reports. So we'll open it up for a few minutes. While we wait, before I declare the meeting adjourned, just a reminder that there are no regularly scheduled meetings of council in July and August, nor are there committee of the whole regularly scheduled committee of the whole meetings or any meetings committee of the whole. We do meet in July and August on an as-needed basis and can meet in a timely fashion when that requires. But our next regularly scheduled council meeting will be held on September 23rd, 2025. Councillor?
Thank you, Warden, and I apologize. I know we passed the review of action items, but while we're waiting for the phone to ring, I just thought I would ask, through you over to our CAO about the letter that we had received from Rose Merrick some time ago, the chair of the River Bourgeois Community Services Society, regarding putting some funding in a yearly budget to for the power and the base lights at the River Bourgeois Lighthouse. We had referred that back to staff for further investigation. It still shows up as in progress, and I'm just wondering if, I know we didn't have anything specific in our budget about it. Our budget was pretty tight, and we were trying to make sure it was no increase on the rate. It is number 505. I was just 505? Yeah. I'm just wondering if there's nothing to report at this point, I'm wondering if we could maybe have some kind of follow-up conversation to make sure we close the loop with them. I just don't want to leave it hanging.
Especially before the summer.
Yeah. Not really an update at this point?
Yeah.
Maybe you and I can connect on it.
100%.
Okay, that's okay. Didn't mean to put-
I'll take that one away, 505?
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have no phone calls in on our question period, and we have no other items on the agenda, so I declare this meeting of council adjourned.
Thank you.